Good after. Hello, hello. Hola. Hello, hello. Yeah. One. Yes. So I love that. Good afternoon, San Diego. Okay, no, one more time. Good afternoon, San Diego. Now we are talking. Welcome to the Burnham Center for Community Advancements, Legends and Community Champions, a conversation across generations. I'm Adri Brunner, and I'm proud to serve on the board of BCCA and as a senior business consultant and vice president for JP Morgan Chase. When I think about leadership, I think about many things: heart, compassion, community, intention, sacrifice, resilience, mentorship, and humility. Leadership isn't a title, it's a journey. And we are all at different points on that journey, learning, growing, and transforming along the way. Multi-generational leadership is about the richness and beauty of perspectives. It's in our nonprofit leaders. I see a lot of you here today, advocating and supporting communities. In a young entrepreneur, opening a new business. In an academic, teaching the next generation of scientists. In an artist, creating a mural that tells a story. In a philanthropist, supporting a cause that matters. And in a high school student, just like my daughter, leading a fundraiser to uplift a community. All of these journeys reflect humanity. They remind us that leadership is deeply personal, but it's bigger than ourselves. As leaders, our stories, our challenges, and our successes shape us. But what is our true purpose? That's defined by our heart, by our passion, and our commitment to make this region stronger. And part of our role is to support the next generation of leaders, to help them grow, to walk beside them, and to welcome them in this shared journey. Here in San Diego, we see leadership everywhere, in our youth, nonprofit spaces, civic leaders, entrepreneurs, artists, academics, scientists, sports, go Padres, and, I have to say, sorry, and in neighborhoods, working together to achieve economic mobility and a stronger future. Leadership in San Diego is diverse, is culturally rich, is filled with heart, and is part of the fiber of our community. What makes San Diego so special is that we work together, we build together, and we lead with authenticity. Leadership is collaborative. San Diego, as I see you all of here, is a mosaic of leaders, each unique, each vital, and all driven by heart and intention. I see leaders who serve with compassion, people who give of themselves for others, who transform their communities with love, and who remind us that leadership is not about the self. It is about the success of our communities. Thank you, all of you, for your leadership, your kindness, and your commitment to lifting others up. Today, we are here to inspire one another, to support one another, and continue leading together, because San Diego is a region of leaders. And it is my privilege to introduce the only one, that Seth Parson, our co-founder, president, and CEO of the Burnham Center for Community Advancement. Thank you.
Well, that kind of says it all. We can all go home now, or let's go have a drink. That was pretty special, Adri. Thank you. Thank you so much. So good afternoon. I guess we're almost evening now. It's after 5, so we'll say evening. And it's very special to see everybody here. It's heartwarming. There's a whole community of leaders here. But before we get on to the main attraction, I need to do some housekeeping and some thank yous. There are a number of elected officials here and some of their senior representatives. You can see them rather than go through the whole list. That would take too long. It'd be 6 o'clock by the time we got done. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your service to community. I also want to recognize and thank our board members who do such vital service to our organization in helping lead it as partners through and through in everything we do. Our chair, Paula Cordero, our vice chair, Vincent Mudd, Audrey Bruner, of course, who gave such eloquent remarks just now, and of course, our chair emeritus, Malin Burnham. I'd also like to thank UCSD Park and Market staff. They always are wonderful partners. Megan and Keith Jones, Amy and Adam Jacobs, and Remley and Doug Arthur, who helped conceive this event. And then, of course, maybe most of all, the Burnham Center for Community Advancement staff, who really are the ones that make the magic happen at the Burnham Center. Blanca Sanchez, Natalie Royston, Andy Blum, Jim Waring, Sophia Eichner, and somewhere is our recently retired, there he is, Bill Ponder, who was employee number one, the very first person I hired, and helped build the concept and the infrastructure so that we could be here today. So thank you, Bill. Thank you for those years of friendship and partnership. And of course, I'd like to thank our esteemed panelists. If we could get that slide up, please. Because it's not very often that we can put on one stage this list of names, both iconic, legendary, and some that are coming into their own or have already arrived as leaders. And don't get me wrong, there's only so much room on the stage. There are many other people here today who could just as easily be on the stage, and part of what's happening here today is not just to listen to the folks that we had room for, but for you to intermingle, for you to get to know each other across generations, across sectors, across ethnicities, across belief systems and perspectives, so that we can make, as Malin likes to say, this region a better place to live, work, and play for all. You know, for me, sometimes inspiration shows up unexpectedly. A friend of mine sent me a book that arrived yesterday, and it had a wonderful quote from President John F. Kennedy that says, let the public service be a proud and lively career. And then I'll paraphrase the rest to make it fit today. And let every man and woman who works in any area of public service, in any branch, at any level, to be able to say with pride and with honor in future years, I served my community in its hour of need. We're in a very delicate time right now, no matter what your political perspective. And it's up to us to make it through this time as a community and create the community that we all envision for ourselves and each other. So when I look around this room, I see colleagues and friends, some colleagues and friends I've known for many years, people I've loved for many years, and many people that I don't know very well, but I look forward to being colleagues and friends with you. And not just colleagues and friends, I feel just deeper, a burgeoning community of committed leaders. Leaders from all different backgrounds with different perspectives, civic leaders with different lived experience, all working to better our region. A community of public servants, to use President Kennedy's words. So thank you for the privilege of being with you today, for coming together as a community of leaders, all shapes, sizes, colors, perspectives. It's quite, from this vantage point, I wish you could see what I see. It's quite a sight. I see the San Diego-Tijuana region represented here today. So please let's acknowledge you. That's right. So it's my other great privilege to introduce someone whose name is woven into the very fabric of the Cali, Baja, and San Diego region. For decades, Malin and the Burnham family have embodied his motto, community before self. Roberta, John, Kathy, and Keith, his grandson, are all here today to celebrate with us, to lift each other up as a community, as Malin has done for nearly 50 years in this region. So Malin's work, of course, has inspired so many. And he's done that work alongside so many of you. I see Mary Walshock, I see Steve Cushman, also, and many others who, as I said, could easily be on the stage here today. And there are many more, but there are too many to mention, so we'll just leave it at that. You know who you are. When you think of Malin's work, you think of things like CBX, big civic infrastructure projects, CBX, Petco Park, the Midway Museum, and more. But none of that happens. None of it happens unless people of differing perspectives and backgrounds come together like you have today to bridge those differences and make important things happen in our region. That's the beauty of what we're trying to do at the Burnham Center, and we welcome you here today. So we also think of the Burnham family investments in leadership in education, the arts, fighting bias and prejudice in all its forms, youth development, all the way from northern Baja to our northernmost border in our county. So like others you'll hear from today, Malin's vision, energy, and generosity has left an indelible mark on me and the region. He's inspired countless people to step up themselves. So second, of course, to his family, he's almost 98. Sorry to add another year, but he's only 97, but at this age, and it's like when you were 5, you say, I'm 5.5. 97 3/4. So at almost 98 years old, he continues to share not just resources and wealth with the rest of the community, but also the wealth of wisdom and perspective that comes with age. Second, of course, to his family, I am exceptionally fortunate to stand beside him for the last 10 years. Please welcome, sorry, I promised myself I wouldn't do that. Please welcome my dear friend, mentor, partner in forming the Burnham Center, Malin Burnham.
I can't believe what I see.
Right here, Malin. You got to be in front of here because
Oh my gosh.
you're loud, but not that loud. Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for all being here. I see an awful lot of my friends that I haven't seen for a long time, and that's very important to me to be here and think about that and remember this for a long, long time. But also, it tells me that what we started over 5 years ago to do something like this for the community, it tells me we're on the right track. And it's you people that are going to make these differences. Somebody has to build the ship and guide the ship, but it takes the team and a lot of thoughtful people working together. And the energy is from you people is vibrating off of me, and I really appreciate you here. So I have some remarks that I have put down here so that I don't forget. And this isn't long, but these things are important to me to share with you folks. 5 years ago, when Tad and I first conceived the Burnham Center, and by the way, Tad and I didn't have a long-time relationship before this started. We weren't partners in anything. We weren't doing things together. But I spotted him through other people's recommendations as well. And so the two of us we do things together. We can almost speak for each other, and we do a lot of that. And so I wouldn't be here without Tad. I wouldn't have built the Burnham Center for Community Advancement without Tad. and many other people, but he's the engineer, he's the architect, he's the fireman. So
That's for sure.
it takes all kinds to have. 5 years ago, when Tad and I first conceived the Burnham Center, we agreed that one way we could help the region become the best it can be is to create a platform for new style civic leadership in all its forms, time, talent, and resources to come together across sectors, political and cultural differences to invent the future. Think about that, inventing the future. We know there's going to be a future, but what are you going to do? You going to let somebody tell you what to do, or are we going to figure it out ourselves and take the leadership? And that's really what, now, we're not going to run the world, we're not going to run the country, we're not going to run anything, but the greater San Diego community and make it just one of the best communities in the entire world to live, play, and work. So we built the Burnham Center to be that platform, to intentionally illuminate and support leaders from a variety of backgrounds, as you see in this room, and who already are making significant impact, those who have strived to do so. The Burnham Center is a place for us to envision the future together and make it happen for all. That's our charge. Yeah. We also recognize that my generation of regional civic leadership is aging. I am in my 98th year, if I didn't pronounce that correctly.
Let's be clear.
And many of my friends and partners in this work are no longer with us. It is time for us to pass the torch, as we say, and be the wind in your sails. We can all design things like boats, but you can't move them unless somebody gets the wind and the energy and the navigation and the ideas and the partners and all of these things that go together. And I'm totally amazed to see this kind of a crowd and knowing who most of you are and what we can do in this community. So I'm excited and optimistic to see the future through your eyes. Our region needs you and those like you to come together now across differences. There'll always be differences, but we can solve those problems. Across differences, set a workable vision for the future of our region and go make it happen, either with the Burnham Center as a partner or on your own or in some other form. It is your turn now. I'll be excited to find out in my lifetime where you will take it from here. I'm begging, not really, opening the doors and making you understand that you are needed, your ideas, your energy, your soul is part of the leadership. And that's what's going to make San Diego a better place to live, work, and retire. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that was pretty special. Hard to top that. So again, thanks for the privilege of being with you today and for helping manifest what the Burnham Center set out to be, a place where we acknowledge where we've been, as Malin articulated, embrace who we are, which is different than who we were, and where we are, which is different than where we were, and not just imagine the future we want, but go out and make it happen. So, now for the main event. As Malin mentioned, today's regional and neighborhood challenges are very real, but looking around this room, and particularly at those who have led us this far and those who will lead us in the future, I'm very optimistic that we have not only the capacity to meet those challenges, but do truly, truly great, extraordinary things. What you'll witness today and be part of, and we will have, there is a Q&A, but we have curated questions. There are so many people that we decided to curate the questions in advance. So then also after the session up here, there will be plenty of time to mingle and get feedback and give feedback to each other once we adjourn for drinks and snacks. So what you'll hear today is this intergenerational exchange that you are participating in, not just hear it, but part of, about something that Dr. King wrote in his last work, which was called Where Do We Go From Here? So to guide this conversation, I'm proud to introduce Jason Paggio, a local and national leader who knows how to ask the right questions and listen deeply to extract the next bit of information. Perhaps most meaningful to me is he's also my friend and colleague, as many of you are, in the work that we do every day. His bio is long and impressive, and it was in the materials that you were sent via email, and there are some printed copies out there. So without further ado, please welcome my friend, our moderator, Jason Paggio.
Well, you're not here for me, but thanks, Tad. So we'll bring up our, I was going to say our contestants here, one at a time, and then we'll get to the great conversation here. So let's start with Ernest Rady. Come on up.
Me on the far left, but that doesn't mean that I'm on the far left.
All right, well.
Some of my friends are on the far left, though.
I was going to say our next person, but it sounds like our next victim. It's going to be Andy Ballister. Dr. Constance Carroll. Doug Arthur. Lynn Schenk. Natasha Wong. And Erwin Jacobs. Come on down. All right, now for the fun part. First of all, I'm so incredibly thankful to be here. Tad, thank you so much for inviting me and the Burnham Center for your support here. And I will say, and I didn't express this to Tad when he called me, but I really struggled with this ask and being able to be on this panel. And not just because of the names of the people that are here, but also who is going to be in this room. And it's so incredibly, I think starting out looking at this very intimidating, but I think now it's very heartwarming. And I think this is something where when I was struggling through this process of thinking how do we format this and look at the questions, it became something where I just said, why don't I just speak from the heart about this? And for somebody, how many of you are from San Diego or born and raised San Diego? Actually, a pretty good group. And I think looking at everybody that's here, and for somebody like myself, my parents are from the Philippines, and service is something that's in their blood, particularly my dad, who was in the Navy for over 30 years, retired here. And me getting involved civically was really, through the arts, through music, and I ended up getting and starting a nonprofit based on education, music, and then served on an arts commission. And it was such a struggle for my parents to wonder, why would you, so you're gonna volunteer your time, you're not gonna get paid for this, and so there's a lot of cultural differences. And so, but being able to see, I think, how this could be framed and the questions that will come from this and the questions that were asked from everybody here, I think my hope is that everybody in this room gets to walk away from something, with something that you could take, and then generationally we were all talking about, what is the one thing that we all hope that gets answered here today. And I know it's gonna be difficult because we're really limiting it to 1 minute per person, but we know it's gonna go over that. But as I look at this and I look at service and everybody that's here, I'd asked my team at the Asian Business Association throughout the pandemic, what would be our quote as an organization or for the work that we do? And there was a Chinese proverb, if you always give, you'll always have. And I think there's nothing more that embodies this group on stage in terms of being able to give. And we have a lot because of it. So really thankful to be with you on the stage. So. Now we are going to get to the fun stuff, the questions here. So we're going to ask each senior leader, maybe that's not the right adjective, experienced leader on stage here, and we'll start, Erwin, we'll start with you. Why did you give so much of what you had to offer to our region?
That's an easy one. I came here in 1966. To teach at UCSD. That was a wonderful experience. I ended up starting a business which I hadn't anticipated, called Winkabit. That was also a very good experience. And then Qualcomm. And so the area has been very special. I also raised a family of 4 sons and now 14 grandchildren, and going on 4 great-grandchildren. So San Diego is very, very special.
Thank you, Erwin. Anything for you, Lynn?
Well, similar to what Erwin just said, San Diego is a place where I felt that I could participate and give back. My father was a Holocaust survivor. My mother escaped the Nazis, a few steps ahead of them. And so I always wondered, why? Why am I here? Why did they survive? Why? I always hearken back to one of the ancient sages, Rabbi Hillel, who lived over 2,000 years ago, and he said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? And so for me, the here and now was in San Diego. I came here to go to law school in the late 60s and found a very interesting place, not always welcoming. And so it gave me the opportunity to participate in a way to make it welcoming to others.
Thank you, Lynn. Dr. Carroll?
Yes, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and which was a segregated city at the time. It was very difficult, and everything was perceived as either black or white. And in my journey to Maine and Pittsburgh and Northern California, and finally to San Diego, I was shocked to find such a loving, multi-ethnic, multi-heritage community. And I fell in love with San Diego, and I thought, whatever I can do to support this type of atmosphere, I will do. And so I'm very grateful to be here and very appreciative of the love and respect that the citizens and residents of San Diego have shared with each other and with me.
Thank you. Ernest?
Well, I warned you I got to tell a joke. So it's called The Pond. And I wondered why they ask people of our age to come and visit with you. So this is a joke, and I'm going to read it, because if I try to tell it, I mess it up. So an elderly man in Florida had owned a large farm for several years. He had a large pond in the back with picnic tables, horseshoe courts, and some apple and peach trees. The pond was properly shaped and fixed up for swimming when it was built. One evening, the old farmer decided to go down to the pond, as he had been there for a while, and look it over. He grabbed a 5-gallon bucket to bring back some fruit. As he neared the pond, he heard the voices shouting and laughing with glee. As he came closer, he saw it was a bunch of young women skinny dipping in the pond. He made the women aware of his presence, and they all went to the deep end. One of the women shouted at him, "We're not coming out till you leave." The old man frowned. "I didn't come down here to watch you ladies swim naked or make you get out of the pond." Holding up the bucket, he said, "I came here to feed the alligators." The lesson is, old man can still think fast.
I'm going to take that as your...
First of all, I want to tell you, Mela and Roberta, I'm here because of you, out of my respect for you and admiration for your lives and what you've done. I'm grateful to live in San Diego. I'm grateful to have lived in San Diego 60 years. Came here from Winnipeg, Manitoba, same climate as Siberia. And so, yeah. And my father was a doctor, and he was a Russian immigrant. He got out from Russia, never talked about it, and I didn't know what it was like until I saw Fiddler on the Roof. And then I knew why he left. So he loved helping people. A woman would come to his office and say, "Doctor, thank you." And it was like he made $1 million, and that's when $1 million was $1 million, not like with inflation we got today. So I'm grateful to have lived in San Diego. What a life we've had, the security we have. I just say thank you all.
At the risk of another joke, Ernest, we'll start back again with you for this question. What was that catalyst or moment or community need or even the opportunity that motivated you to get started? What was that for you?
It started in business or started in philanthropy?
Either one.
Either one. Well, business, I was motivated by greed. Philanthropy, I've been motivated because I can't figure out how to take it with me. I just want you to know, anybody here who will help me take it with me, I'm never giving another nickel away. But I have vicariously enjoyed the benefit of what Evelyn and I have earned to help other people. It's very important to us that eventually everything we have goes to help other people because we have been so blessed ourselves.
Thank you. Ask the same question of Dr. Carroll. We're going to get to the youngins in a little here, but Dr. Carroll.
Youngins. Then I will try one of my jokes. But my jokes are sedate jokes because I'm the educator on the panel. Okay, and it will involve all of you. Knock, knock. Who's there? Two. Oh, to whom? What motivated me was to see how many people, because I'm with community colleges and universities in San Diego, the tremendous need that so many young people had, and people not all young, but people who were in their 30s and 40s for education, but who were not able to receive it either because of poor grades or lack of funding or legislation which was not progressive legislation. And I decided that I wanted to not see groups of people who had to suffer the way I did through segregation, but who would have the loving support to realize their full potential. And I decided that that's what I would commit my life in San Diego to.
Lynn, what was your moment or catalyst or that got
Well,
you?
I have no jokes because I have a lot of them, but I can't remember the punchlines. So that's it.
That's why you write them out.
Well, as I said, I came here to go to law school and graduated, had my ticket, passed the bar and found that law firms back then didn't hire girls. Well, a couple of them did, as long as we stay in the library and do research, because clients didn't want girl lawyers. That started to open my eyes. There were about 5 or 6 of us, and we wanted to volunteer. The then president of the bar didn't even want us as volunteers. This was a time when women couldn't get credit in their own name. This was a time when women could not be firemen or policemen or utility linemen or anything else that ended in men. And so I decided that even though I was just starting out, that I could join with those few other women. And Mary Walshock, who's here, was part of that. Even though she wasn't a lawyer, she was our instigator and so many, and co-conspirator. We decided that we were going to dedicate our time, our effort, our energy to making things better for not just ourselves, but for other women to come along, which in turn helped men in the community as well. And so that was the motivating factor for my starting to get involved.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Erwin, for you, what was your catalyst or community need or opportunity?
Well, when we came, and then while I was still a professor, we didn't have much resources. We did make contributions, but relatively small. And at Winkabit, it took a while for the company to grow to a point. But one of the things we did do was encourage a lot of the employees to get involved with local charities. We used to have a lunch where we'd invite different groups to come over, be available for the employees to get out there and talk with them. And so that worked. And then we began, as the company finally had a profit, to begin to make contributions from the company. And I often thought about the question of whether a shareholder would come to me and say, you know, why are you giving away our money? And I had a prepared answer. Luckily, I never did have anybody come up and ask me that. But my prepared answer basically was that we have employees. They like to be proud of their company. They like to be proud of their community. And our contributions allow them to feel very positive about the company and the community. And there's nothing harder to lose in a company than a good employee. And so it's well justified to go ahead and make those corporate contributions.
Thank you. Yeah. So, starting with you, Natasha, talk a little bit about your why you're engaged and involved as much as you are, serving so many boards, and I think trying to find as many ways to have folks involved in the work that you do, and I think amplifying it. What's your why?
Well, I think it boils down to my parents and my family really teaching me to care about others and develop empathy and not sit on the sidelines just to do something. They're really just doers and joiners. We join so many different causes. And I, as a mother now, I want to make sure for future generations that I leave this community better. And I want to make sure, at least for my son, that he sees he's represented in the community and he feels like he belongs. When I grew up, I went to a very small religious school where for the most of my time, I was the only Asian student in the whole school. So I was ridiculed, made fun of. The kids were kind of mean. And I was made fun of for my foreign appearance, for my language, even for my lunch. So it's kind of triggering for me. I really felt different, and I felt like I don't belong here. But at the same time, I had so many great, wonderful role models in the community. Uncle Tom Hom, my mother, David Sid that I worked with at the House of China in Balboa Park. And especially in Balboa Park, all of you know of those little cottages, right? It's like a little model United Nations there. And every month on the first Sunday, we have a meeting together. And everyone Doesn't matter what your political differences are, what you bring to the table is your culture and your friendship. You'll have House of Pakistan, House of India, House of Vietnam, China. We're all there together at the table because we all, bottom line is we love each other and respect each other, and we want to share our culture and our commonalities with each other. And I really enjoyed working together with them on that.
Thank you for sharing that. Doug, what's your why?
You know, my why has always started and stopped with family. The family that came before me, the family that I'm now raising with my wife, Remley. And when I was a kid, I came here, born and raised, one of the very few, the lucky ones, but apparently there's many more of us now in the crowd, which is changing. And that's changing because of the folks that came before us, the folks that were willing to make the investments that made us proud to be San Diegans. I think back to my past, and my dad was here because he was a Navy pilot. My mom was here because my grandfather was a career Marine out of Wisconsin, right? And a lot of that generation came here to build a great place that is San Diego. I think about the first ever event that I remember that had kind of charitable aspirations. It was the first ever, and many of you probably attended, Celebration of Champions event. They hold it annually, Rady Children's Hospital. My mom happened to be one of the very few first co-chairs. I remember being in high school, and she said, "Will you volunteer at this event?" And it was really more of a statement than a question. I was in the middle of high school. I said no, and she said, "You're coming." And I helped set up that first event. And that forever changed my life in terms of what can happen when a community comes together. Families, healthcare, but there were celebrities there. There were children there that, despite the fact that they were facing some of the most difficult circumstances, were there with a brave face, just excited to run a lap at Embarcadero Park on a Saturday. And for anybody that's been to that event, you'll never forget it. I think it just celebrated its 30th anniversary. So I think fondly about that being the start of my why, going from being an individual to thinking about how the community was around us and how little things like showing up a little bit before an event to help set up could really make the difference in making someone smile and being a part of that. And I think about that with our children and the legacy that we now need to leave for them in order to elevate the community that we sit in.
Thank you. Andy.
Awesome. Well, my why has two parts. I grew up mostly in New Jersey, but I moved around just a metric ton as a child. And so when I went to college in Illinois, that was the first time I've stayed in a place for 4 years. And so this year, actually just last week, was my wife and I's 22-year anniversary of moving to San Diego. And so that represents almost exactly half my life. And so this is the place where I've started my family. This is the place where I've started several startups and sometimes get to win there too. And I think there is a duty to one's home. This is clearly my home. This is where I see myself being for the rest of my life. And so there's a duty there to give back to the community. There's also, and San Diego has afforded me a lot of opportunities. One of the businesses I started with a co-founder here is GoFundMe. We just celebrated our 40th billion dollar that we've given to, or that we've helped facilitate in giving. And one of the things we had a front row seat in that business was to how fragile people's lives can be out there, and how when you have the capacity to give back, you must. And that was just life-changing to see that firsthand. And also, it afforded us the ability to see just the impact that collective action can have. And so not just giving back your time, but figuring out ways to organize people and to bring them together around the concept of community is also been really important to me after that journey. And so I think those are the two main things there. Yeah.
Thank you. So now for the sort of the fun part here, looking at the time here in terms of being able to look at as a lot of the questions you all submitted here, and for in today's world and how I don't want to just say difficult it is, but I think what are the solutions that could be provided? And I know everybody has a different sort of not just why, but approach to, I think it's a time to be creative, right? And we're all starting to look at, how could we make a really big difference here in perhaps a non-conventional way. And so with, I think some of you submitted like 2 or 3 questions. You got to open a new browser and then ended up, which is great because these are all really wonderful questions. So the first one, and I tried to find the best ones I could with the team at Burnham and be able to point it to folks here. The first one of which is, how do we break down the silos between our organizations, cities, and counties so that we can truly address the common challenges faced by residents, organizations, businesses, and governments in our region? Extremely timely question. And I'm going to kick this over to Lynn, see if you can answer that for us. Softball, no problem.
Well, first of all, as I look out at this audience and so many of the people that I know at different stages of their career and their volunteerism, I really just feel so heartened that these challenges that we have can be addressed. So I start with that. So in terms of our community, we reflect, I think, the rest of the country where we have so siloed ourselves and hyphenated ourselves that sometimes we are in our own little world, but this community has overarching and overriding problems, whether it's homelessness, mental illness, streets and roads, disaster prevention, fire prevention. I mean, these issues override our ethnicity, our race, our culture, our religion. And so how do we bridge that? Tad, I'm going to look to you because you don't have enough work to do. But I think that the Burnham Center is ideally positioned to do something about this bridging. And so it's a wonderful question because it goes to the heart of what we're talking about today. And I'm going to take more than a minute, sorry, Jason, because
No problem.
What I'd love to see is something like a job fair here, but an issues fair, where we take the top issues of our community and we bring all of you, the leaders, back here and invite the individuals in our community and the other organizations that are not here. And let's find a way that we can collaborate, where we can find common ground on these overarching issues and meet regularly. Building relationships takes time, and building trust in one another takes time. And so a place like the Burnham Institute and the Burnham Center can be the place to bring us together to address these issues and to break down the silos and the barriers that were mentioned in the question, because we really do have them, and we have to acknowledge that before we can break them down.
You bring up a good point, and it's interesting to see when we were asking the whys, and you look at it, it seems so interesting to have to ask and look back to see, Lynn, you mentioning, not being able to, or folks not wanting to hire women attorneys, or even Dr. Carroll, segregation, and we're now starting to see some of the mechanisms and tools bringing that back. And so for us to have to look retrospectively and start to think, well, what preceded and created the systemic issues, and now it seems new again. But having to hear your perspective on that could help us get out of that, I think, and help cultivate that generation, whether it's the Burnham Center or the leaders you're putting together. So it's refreshing, but also our ability to take that to heart and how we, I think, exemplify that in a really meaningful way. So let's see, what is the distinctive feature that great leaders have that not so great leaders lack? I think I'd like to bring this to either Doug or Andy, or actually both. Maybe Doug, you want to start with that one?
One of the things that I've always been amazed by is how collegial a business environment San Diego is. It's very different than a lot of places in the world. I'm in commercial real estate, and I would say that we call them peers, not we're not versus anybody. And it's a pretty special thing to be able to have a collection of leaders that actually care about each other, that don't view it as a zero-sum game. And I think that just speaks generally to the leaders that work versus the leaders that don't. There's a plenty of really intelligent people in this universe, but it takes more than intelligence. When I've met people that truly inspired me, EQ is top of the list. It's truly the ability to be empathetic, to be team-oriented, to think about others. The concept of community before self, if you apply that to your own family, you apply that to your colleagues within the context of business, that what you're doing, the values and or the vision that you create will actually inspire others and lift up the community around you. And so the leaders that get it right are those that aren't out there for their own personal benefit, but understand that they will get their own personal benefit to the extent that they can lift up the community around them.
That's great. Yeah. Everybody in this room, I think, all likes each other, so that's a pretty good start. I would say, Andy, you want to take this one as well?
Sure. A great leader to me is someone who can execute, who can invite others in and have a shared ownership over a problem space or a mission. They make it real for the people working on the mission. Ideas are cheap in today's day. You can ask ChatGPT, how do we solve this problem? It'll give you a ton of ideas, but what really makes it actually have impact is that execution and the collective action of people working together. And so a good leader knows how to draw people in and make it a shared vision that's real to them.
Yeah. Definitely agree with that. Now, actually, we'll start with Ernest on this one. What unfulfilled or latent potential do you see within San Diego?
Unfulfilled potential in San Diego.
Other than jokes.
There is so. It's no joke that there is so much opportunity. What hits me the hardest is when I see people lying by the roadside. We all in this room have mood swings. I can only imagine how those people must feel with what they have, all their worldly goods, in a borrowed grocery cart. So one of the things I'm most pleased with is helping Salvation Army deal with that. There was so much opportunity in this community, in this room, to help others, and there's so many leaders out there. I think we each do a little bit, we'll solve the problems as best we can.
Thank you. Yes, for you. Erwin, for you.
I think we have a very interesting future ahead. The world is changing very rapidly. I think we all need, and particularly for our next generation, a good education that allows them to keep up with that change. I'm very hopeful that with the artificial intelligence and robotics, that in fact our productivity is going to go up significantly over this next decade and perhaps more rapidly. And I think San Diego is well placed to take advantage of that. But we have to keep our education at a high level. We have to encourage people to think about how they can make a difference and get the improvements. But most of all, we have to really think about, and this is probably at a national level, but it's a local level as well, how one distributes this increase in productivity. Does it only go to the people that own the robots and the AI, or do we find what better ways of making it available to all? So the problems with food, with homelessness, with medical needs, we ought to be able to deal with that, but we have to think ahead and plan how best to do that. And I think San Diego is probably in a good position to provide some leadership there.
Thank you. While we were in the green room, Andy and I were talking about, to what extent can AI be used for nonprofits? We see it a lot with companies, but a lot of nonprofits now are going to, maybe even half of them are going to be out of business this time next year that provide critical services for the things that, Ernest was talking about. And so to what extent can the nonprofits be able to use, who maybe are the have-nots, who don't have the tools or the technology or the resources, to what extent are we able to use them to create more efficiency or allow these nonprofits to with limited resources and especially in the direct services world, how are we able to use it in a way that's going to become or be more effective for our communities? So appreciate that conversation earlier. Dr. Carroll, similarly for you, what unfulfilled potential do you believe San Diego has?
San Diego has nothing but potential. I was struck when I first came to San Diego by these two things that I think are still challenges. One is that San Diego is a young community. I have grown up and worked in cities and with institutions that are hundreds of years old. But if we look at our institutions in San Diego, our universities, our businesses and communities, they're all young. They're younger than many of the people on the stage, not me, of course, but.
How about that attitude?
But, so we're not only moving forward, but we're creating a community at the same time. And so we need to do that intentionally. The other challenge is that we are a border community. And the rest of the country doesn't really understand that, at least economically, San Diego and Tijuana are the same economic structure. And we need to know, to learn how to, and find leaders to lead in making sure that that's a reality. And the opera, it's a board that I served on, and Mary Walshock also, has been reaching out to Tijuana in ways that other organizations have not been. And so I think the challenge is to find and nurture leaders who will be compassionate, visionary, people who have a sense of history, and people who have a commitment to the diversity that is inherent in our region.
Thank you, Yum. Ben, we'd love to hear the same thing from you.
Well, ditto, ditto, ditto. You know, first of all, everybody, Mary Walshock is here. You've heard us mentioning her name. She is here, so it's not just some. You're right. Look, our potential is all of our opportunity that we have in the areas that I listed earlier, where we need to address our common challenges, not just our narrow, siloed challenges. Getting back to your first question, the leadership in this room is just really breathtaking. But we need to take this leadership out. When I came to San Diego, the population was just south of 700,000, about 650,000. We're twice that, or more than twice that today, right? We need to make sure that the people in all of those other communities around San Diego County, not just the city of San Diego, feel invested, feel involved. So many times I've talked to people who have been here 20, 30 years, and they still contribute back home, whether that's Michigan or Boston or whatever. How do we make them feel this is home, so that we can harness all that wonderful potential, the ideas, their energy, their volunteerism, and their philanthropy?
That's great. This one leads into some of the discussion regarding, I think, for Burnham Center in terms of civic discussion and dialogue, and where are those investments being made for our community to have constructive dialogue? And San Diego is relatively diverse, and even based on even political registration, or even if you had like an issues fair, I think that'd be interesting. On an issue-by-issue basis, San Diego tends to be, in a lot of different polling we've seen, be a lot more open as opposed to just, this is a decidedly Dem city, this is a Republican town, whatever else it is. And the registration has changed a lot over a short amount of time here, from the last 4 to 6 years, but I don't know that the attitude or mood of the region is changed to reflect that in a way that is not constructive for conversation. So this question, how can San Diego unify, even if it is more so than it isn't, how can San Diego unify and be an example to our very divided country? And I think this would be a good one for Natasha.
Yeah, when I look at this room, I'm just astounded by the diversity that I see in this room, and I'm so hopeful. You don't see that in a lot of other parts of this country. There's a reason why people, everywhere I go, when I tell them I'm from San Diego, everyone smiles and everyone just tells me like what a welcoming and warm city this is. And it's not because of the sunshine just on the beaches or the beautiful zoo we have, it's because of the people that we have in this region. And it's just a testament to how we really strive to create this community of welcome and belonging and a communal collective vision that we have. We all have probably different political and social perspectives, but the unifying thing I see here in my hometown in San Diego is that we all work together, whether it's in the business sector, whether it's in education, a lot of different industries here in our beautiful city. We all really try to work together and get along. So I really respect that. And part of the thing that drew me to the Burnham Center is also because what TAD is building, a support for a coalition of diverse perspectives and backgrounds for people to work together. It's called One SD, and it's a shameless plug here for Andy Bloom. He's somewhere here in the room. He's the project director. I hope you'll seek him out today. There he is right there. I hope you'll seek him out today and learn more about this project. I really believe in this project going forward for the future of our city and our future generations. And it gives me a lot of hope, and I've made a serious investment in this as well. So I hope you'll join us.
Thank you for investing in that environment. Similar to some of the comments, and even maybe the issues fair, how do we build a sense of urgency around critical needs, whether storm drains, housing, childcare, or a strong business space, so that we move from talk to action? Erwin, let's ask you that one.
Well, one of our problems is we don't have enough taxes, or we don't use them efficiently enough. And so a lot of these areas are just starved of funds, which is a shame. But we have a lot of very innovative companies here and people here, and I think we can apply a lot of that innovation toward improving just about everything we do. You often think of innovation as being limited to a new product. But basically, it means you can innovate in just about every aspect of a business, of a government, et cetera. And yes, we need more money, but we probably can make much more effective use of our funds, not by arbitrarily firing people in the office, but by looking at more innovative ways of doing it. So I think there's a lot of potential there, and we certainly have a lot of needs. As I mentioned earlier, I think that we will be getting a lot of increase in productivity, which, by the way, I think will also probably mean that in some time in this next decade, we may be thinking about a 4-day week so that that work can be spread around. But I think it's important to go ahead and look at better ways of doing things, but also provide the funding we need to do them.
That's great. Yeah. I heard a lot of happy sighs for the 4-day work week in this room for all the producers here. Ernest, same question. How do we build a sense of urgency around critical needs, all those different various issues?
I agree with Erwin. There is not enough tax money. Proposition 13, there's not enough real estate taxes to do what we have to do in the city. I don't know what you can do about it. We have a very competent a group of people who run the city and who run the county and are dedicated, but it's a problem. They want to you want to charge for picking up garbage. There's a big pushback. You want to raise the parking meters. There's a big pushback. So I think it's just little by little, and then AI is going to make a heck of a difference. I just read another book about that. The thing about AI, it hasn't got conscience. So it's going to be applied to political reasons, and you don't know what the AI is going to come up with. So frankly, the future is frightening. What is going to happen over the next 10 years? I hope I'm around to suffer through it, but but it's going to be turbulent and it's going to be difficult. On the other hand, the people in this room are bright, energetic, and challenged. And it's something for us to apply our shoulder to and do the best we can. We have great opportunity to improve. Let's do the best we can. And I think the competition between all these strategies, such as the homeless, I hate to mention Donald Kearns here with children. There is all kinds of opportunities. Let's get behind the one that we like best, that we can help most, and I think that we will have a forward movement as best as possible.
Wonderful. So I'd actually like to see if we could ask a couple questions from the audience. Just might want to ask right now, maybe something has gelled for you, or you have more questions as a result of something. Anybody here have any questions? Then I'll jump up at once and sort of, oh wow, nobody has any questions here. Do you submit it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't be shy because you applaud to everything everybody says. So you're going to get applause. Ask a question.
So with, you mentioned taxes, and I agree that we need more taxes, but how do we sit together and come up with these creative ways so we're not codependent on government resources, but we come together collectively to understand how maybe cooperative business ownerships or other models can move us forward in a different way. So I'm all about, the government, we should pay into it, but maybe there's another way, maybe there's a fund that the Burnham Center can start to address these issues in a different way than the traditional way forward.
Well, that's a very good question, and I'm sure the Burnham Institute will be applying its resources and intelligence to this. And like in Imperial Beach, we can't fix the sewage. That's ridiculous. The roads are ridiculous. And I don't know how you go about it. I don't know how politics work, but certainly it can work better than it's working now. There's nothing the matter with the people in government. They are very dedicated and hardworking. How do we support them? I don't know. I don't know.
I think Lynn wanted to add.
I didn't get applause for I don't know, did I?
Well, we do know that the additional monies being collected, parking meters and other approaches, are not progressive at all. The costs are falling on those that can least afford them. Having tariffs, that raises the price of things. Having a number of people not being allowed to come in and work here, that reduces or increases the cost of groceries. We're doing a whole set of very bad things at this point, and we're going to have to find ways to work hard to recover. Now, a key aspect is education. I think we all have benefited from education. Probably would not be where we are now without a good education, but we're not doing that job well enough at this point. I think our universities, other than the intrusions that are occurring now, have done a great job, but our K-12, pre-K through 12, needs a lot of effort. And again, there's innovations that can be brought there and should be, so we should be supporting many of these things to move ahead, but make sure that the burdens are falling on the right parts of the population.
I'm going to take a
UCSD
slightly
has done a
different
great
tack
job.
here. I'm going to take a slightly
UCSD
different
has
tack.
done a great job. Sorry.
Not going to talk about taxes, and of course I agree with you, Erwin, on who's paying the price here. But I have spent a lot of time in state and federal government and have been an observer of local government. And I will admit that one of my biggest political mistakes many years ago was being a supporter of district elections. And why do I say that? Because as it has evolved, these very good people get elected in a district, and their focus is the district that they're in. Their focus is not, in the main, all of our overarching problems that we've all talked about. So in thinking about this, because San Diego's population has grown so much, has doubled since I've been here, I think it's time. Now, you can't go back on district elections, so I'm not even going to pretend that that's a possibility. But we could do what other communities have done, and that is have some at-large members and expand our city council, speaking about San Diego, and add some at-large members who will bring a a broader perspective and hopefully work in a collegial way with those who do represent districts to address some of these issues with the funding that we do have, because as Ernest has pointed out, there's pushback all the time whenever we try to raise a fee or a tax. So let's figure out how we can take the resources that we do have and look at the entire community and to address the community and not just silo these districts.
And there are cities throughout the nation that do have some at-large seats. You know, and there are some cities throughout the nation
Yes,
that have
they do.
at-large seats.
Right.
And I actually see some funders in this room who would probably like to support that ballot measure.
Thank you for your contribution. You saved my life. I'm a liver transplant patient and at the Jacob Center. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I've had 5 years now. So, Mr. Reddy, same thing, you know. I've been to some of the other places.
You were in a children's hospital? I don't believe you.
Not me, but my daughter had cancer.
Oh.
And you saved them.
Oh, well. Thank Donald Kearns and Ted Roth. I'm gone 30 years. They did it. I've just been a bystander to watch and enjoy.
Yeah. Thank you very much. My question is this, you know. We are all talking about AI and how AI is going to transform our lives. One thing the AI doesn't have is intuition. It doesn't have common sense because it's purely based on statistical, right? Now, on the other hand, if we don't get our communities to be capable of applying AI, right, we are not going to make it. We are all aware here, right? The big difference between the educational attainment of North County versus South County. So what can we do in San Diego? I want to say just the city of San Diego, but San Diego County, right? So we can provide the educational attainment that the people in the North can get in the South. Because given the demographic changes and the places where most people, right, are living with certain educational attainment, we're not going to make it. So what can we do, right, and how we can go about it and why to solve this issue? Thank you.
That's a great question. I think that
You mentioned medical for one thing, and hopefully there's a lot of effort right now, but it's really just beginning to grow. The cost of medical treatments will come down and the efficiency will go up. We're going to have to learn our way. Means we still will need trained people to work with their AI, but I think it will make a difference there.
And medical research as well is going to go leaps and bounds ahead. Yeah.
Dr. Carroll, do you have?
I think one of the things we need to absolutely insist on is that our organizations form partnerships and collaborations, because we have been tribalized, and we're also under attack. If you follow the progress, for example, the new transfer agreements between the community colleges and San Diego State University are very, very important. UC San Diego has always been a close partner with community colleges, and I emphasize community colleges because little-known facts that almost 2/3 of the graduates of the Cal State University system come from community colleges, transfer students, and almost 1/3 at the universities, and we need to insist upon collaboration and partnerships. It's been my great privilege to work with two wonderful foundations. Chaired the San Diego Foundation, and I'm now a new board member of the wonderful Prebys Foundation. And they have been collaborating and calling for more and more collaborations. Alone, individually, we don't survive. Collectively, we can, and we can come up with, and I think that's a wonderful idea, Lynn, that you had about adding the at-large members. We can all group together and ensure that these partnerships expand into the political dimension.
Yeah, I think everybody in this room can agree that between our health systems, our ability, and we saw throughout the pandemic how much they actually talk, and you look at your higher ed, we have a very unique place in terms of collaboration and that opportunity that exists there. So I don't know, we could probably count how many times everybody on stage that said collaboration. Too bad we don't have the bar in here to take shots every single time. There's certain key words I think everybody here was saying. But we have time for one more question. Make it a good one. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, this is going to be difficult. Oh, my gosh.
Pick me.
You have Mike back there? Yeah.
Throw the microphone up in
Thank
the
you.
air and
I
see
hope
who
that
catches
makes
that.
one.
Congrats.
Yeah. So I've lived in San Diego 50 years. So I consider myself a native, almost a native born. I'll almost be 80 years old. And when I came here, I believed in the philosophy of welcoming the stranger and leaving the world a better place. So I made a commitment to San Diego. So I asked the panel, how do you, and this young gentleman over here on the high chair said he's raising his family here. So how do you make the intergenerational folks here make a commitment to live here and make San Diego a better place? Because oftentimes people come in and then they make their profit and leave and go elsewhere. And my belief is, in order to make San Diego successful, you have to really invest here. So I'm curious what you may say. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to start with that one. So I think that's an increasingly hard problem to have people commit to a place, especially in tech. We see startups entirely created in the pandemic, and no single employee is in the same state, much less the same city. And so I think that can be really difficult. And I think when I see folks from the tech community leave, they leave because there are better opportunities other places, or housing is cheaper other places, or just the general cost of living. I think we have to address those human factors and make this a great place to live, to retain the talent and energy that we have here. And so that's, I think, but it's a very big problem, but those are the types of things that we have to address to have that buy-in and that ownership over San Diego.
All right, well, we're going to give everybody 30 seconds to give us your bit of wisdom for everybody in this room and beyond. Let's start with you.
Well, I don't have anything to add, but I have a quote from Winston Churchill. And so if you don't like it, please contact him. In the course of my life, I have often had to eat my own words, and I must confess that I've always found it a wholesome diet.
Andy?
In tech, I talked to a lot of tech founders, and it's just start. And I think a lot of the people in this room have already started, and they're already giving back to their communities. So I think for the leaders, it's okay, now grab somebody else who needs to just start and go find them and bring them into your mission. And so I think that's the number one thing you could do in business is start the idea, start the execution.
Awesome. Dr. Carroll?
Oh, I would just like to say, as a classicist and someone who is active in politics as well, that we sometimes think that we are in a unique period of time. There's urgency, there's this, and certainly there is. But if you look at the world over its millennia, you can see that nothing really is new under the sun. That would be Aristotle. And to make sure that in education, the most important subject is history, so that people will understand how great countries rose and how they fell and why, and what it took to pull people together. And that was always the agency, to pull people together, to brainstorm, to dream and to work hard, but always together and in collaboration to make a difference, and change always results from that. So I think it's important for us to reinvest in our understanding of the history of San Diego, how we got to where we are now, and pull people together. And I think the Burnham Center is a perfect place for that, and to brainstorm and turn these ideas into reality. And then we will have the city on the hill that we all wish to see.
I'm going to save you for last, Doug. We'll go to Lynn. Yeah, your bit of wisdom.
Well, I want to focus my closing statement to the young people in the audience, the ones who are just starting out. You look at Erwin, me, Constance, Ernest. We didn't start out like this. You know, we started out your age. The message is to get involved and stay involved throughout your entire lives. As you get older, as you become more financially stable, you'll have more to give, but you have a lot to give now. So start now. Make time to stand for something in this community. Make time to get involved in the community, because we need you now. And so I hope that all of you, those of you who are younger, will take away from this the message that the time is now, because if not now, when?
I think a couple things. One, I agree with my fellow panelists, and I also want to move it a little forward to emphasize about connections. I think making connections, that human connection on that human level, is just so important. I think I heard someone say that, sometimes you can feel like, you look inside and it's my world, I'm just living in a bubble, and your mental health is so important, but sometimes people out there just think, I'm so alone, I'm the one suffering, I'm the one that's going through such a hard time. And I think that human connection, every social human connection we have to each other, is really important. And another shameless plug, that's why, my husband and I, we took our son to a homeless service organization called Burrito Boys. And they devote every weekend to making meals for the homeless. So we woke up at 5 a.m., we made 500 burritos, and we went downtown and we passed out burritos, toilet paper, we collected clothing, we gave out dog food, because some of the unhoused population have, 1 or 2 dogs. They thought of everything. And that sort of connection, to shake someone's hand, say good morning, so great to see you, how can I help you? That really establishes a great way for our younger generation, I think, to have empathy. And there's just so many great nonprofit organizations across the city for you to devote some time and establish that connection. And same with that, the connection that you build as you're starting out in your careers, that team that you build around yourself that you can trust and to depend on, is so important. And I think Mr. Jacobs would also agree with me. Find that partner, find that spouse. I have to give kudos to my husband, because I drag him along the city with me everywhere, and he just supports me 100%, and I love him for that. He just lets me be me. And I'm sure Mr. Jacobs feels the same way. Find that partner.
Now, this question of how to encourage our youth to stay here in San Diego and contribute, it's a lot easier now than it had been, in the sense that we have all kinds of things that weren't here when we moved back in 1966. A great cultural scene, much more business, great universities and colleges, and so it has that attraction. What we have to make sure is that if the younger people want to start a company, for example, or work in a company and be an entrepreneur, that opportunity is available. And to make that available, well, among other things, I get many visitors, younger visitors these days, and they all want to know how to start the next Qualcomm. And there's not obviously a single answer there, but what I do tell them is that they should look at things that they're interested in doing and be willing to take risks, because nothing in this world is a sure bet. But don't fail. And so sometimes they talk about entrepreneurs, it's okay to fail, do it a second time, a third time. My own advice is don't fail. But the way you have to do that is by not going in a straight line. You're going to have to adjust to each challenge that comes up. And so it's what I call dynamic programming. But be open to making those changes, but keep looking for the way to be successful. So if we get enough of the young ones trying to do that, we'll keep them here.
Before we bring up our board chair for closing remarks, to take it home for us, Doug, a bit of inspiration from you.
I think as I'm listening to all the panelists and the great questions, what better place to have this conversation than in front of Malin Burnham, celebrating the Burnham Center for Community Advancement. This is what it's all about, right? It's the place that he and Roberta built. So how special it is to be here and to feel the energy and the passion for the community. I also think about the people that aren't in this room. It's the children that we're raising right now. It's the grandchildren we're presiding over. We tend to think of things in the context of the past generation or how we are living in our current generation, but not the things that we're doing, how we're showing up as parents and grandparents every day to create a more informed, thoughtful, respectful, diverse set of opinions. And if we do our job, I guarantee they'll do their job, and they will support this city, and they will support their children, and they'll make this a better place. Now, the last thing I'll say, and Lynn, I'm gonna echo what you said a little bit, is that when you sit on a stage like this or in a room, it's easy to be both inspired and also just intimidated by the success that many of the people in this room have had. And from a business perspective, community perspective, et cetera. And Lynn said it perfectly. The reality is there was a time before everyone on the stage was before starting their first business, before contributing their first dollar, before raising their first child, before finding their first passion. And so if you just take that to heart, it's not about where we need to end up 50 years from today. But if each of us just tomorrow says, as we get out of bed in the morning, what's the hardest thing I'll have to do? What's my number one priority? What's the action I plan to take? And if all of us did that, and all of us preached that, then San Diego would be a better place tomorrow and the day after that and the day after it. So that's what I'd leave you all with is what are we going to do tomorrow? How are we going to take action? And how are we going to make a difference?
Now for some parting words, we have the Burnham Center for Community Advancement Board Chair, Paula Cordero. Come up and say some words. So,
wow. On behalf of the Burnham Center staff and board, thank you so much. That was fabulous. I'm inspired, and I'm the closer today. So I'm Paula Cordero, and I wear two hats. One is I'm the chair of this board, and it's kind of I'm in awe because I'm the second chair of this board, and who on earth wants to follow Malin Burnham? Okay. I'm also a professor of leadership, organizational leadership at the University of San Diego. And I want to share one of my favorite quotes from Meg Wheatley. There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. That reflects my belief that real social change happens when you get a group of people together committed to their community in deep conversation, imagining all of the possibilities. And today we've done just that. We've come together, we've talked, we have explored, we're looking now as to how we can act. And these are powerful stories from the luminaries who helped And I'm a student of history as well. And when I look at the amazing people in this community over the last 150 years or so, it's been phenomenal. But we have 4 on our stage who have done so much for our community. They have been amazing visionaries. And we also have some leaders who are going to help us go into the future to make this community a better place. So, I want you to consider the Burnham Center as a platform for you to lead and to act. And I'd like us to take all the energy that's in this room right now, and we're going to go out and have a few things to eat and drink, and we're going to continue this conversation. And I am so grateful. Muchísimo gracias a todo. And I have to say in Portuguese, obrigada a todos. Thank you so much. Todo.
That's it. Thanks, everyone.